Good morning. Welcome in on a Monday, the final Monday of 2021. Can you believe we're at the end of the year already? We're glad you're waking up with us on this Monday. I'm Jack Royer.
That's right. Here on Decatur Street in New Orleans, the winds and the rain are picking up. Behind me, they've been powerful enough to blow a piece of a roof right off of a building. We can tell you this is the worst we've seen from Hurricane Ida the entire time we've been in New Orleans. In fact, look right here. These roofs being ripped off as we speak tonight. This powerful storm now sitting here just dumping rain on New Orleans and the French Quarter. Here in Metairie, this tree has uprooted a sidewalk this afternoon, and you can see what might be a miracle in some sense. The branches from this pine tree caught it from falling on this house. Heidi, good evening from battered Louisiana. We're right near the French Quarter, high up above, to give you a shot at seeing just how powerful this storm is. The winds are whipping and pelting rain across this parking lot. Just above that is the French Quarter. We saw a roof ripped off of a business here. Not many people out on the streets this afternoon, and you can guess why. Whichever way the wind shifts is whichever way gets it. Chris, Megan, good morning again. And this is quite literally the first light of day for people waking up to assess the damage in their neighborhood here on Carondelet Street. Hotels behind me are telling their residents and guests this morning, you simply can't stay here. We simply don't have enough fuel for the generators and therefore no power, no ability to serve you anymore. Here at the 17th Street Canal in New Orleans, this is the levee system that a lot of people have faith in this time around. 16 years to the day since Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. Now on that anniversary, folks we're talking to feel confident that the millions of dollars in investment over the past near 2 decades will be enough to keep this city safe from Hurricane Ida. The governor here saying today this could be the worst storm to hit Louisiana since the 1850s. A powerful statement in an area that's been ravaged by storms of the past. Marco among them, Laura as well, and of course Hurricane Katrina. The anniversary of that storm making landfall here in New Orleans is tomorrow. Just the last few minutes, in fact, Marnie, about 8:22, we got word that he'd been captured in a suburb of Birmingham, about 30 miles to the south, apparently hiding, but the details are few and far between on that right now. A local police department was able to make an arrest. He's now being held in a jail in that county, just south of Jefferson County, where he was released by accident 1 week ago today. And that's the central question at this point. The primary question up until now was, where was Matthew Burke? Now it turns to, how was he released from jail, apparently accidentally? It's sort of a subdued attitude here in the room now, almost no reaction to the fact that she's up by some 20 points and tens of thousands of votes over her closest opponent. Although one thing that she and Walt Maddox have in common tonight, they've both told media members that they will not be coming out to speak to media or supporters until the race has been called. The neighborhood is dealing with tragedy. An entire police department mourning the loss of a veteran of the force. Jim, those bullets flying through the air, witnesses saying 30 to 40 shots right here where cars were parked in these spots as people were inside the mall shopping this afternoon. And just to show you the effects of those bullets on these vehicles, take a look at this glass. This is a Hampton Inn right off of I-65 here. You can see this storm ripped the wall right off of this hotel. Is there damage on the vehicles? Oh, yeah. We're going to walk over here with you, if that's okay, and show this again. We're walking through that hail we've been showing you all afternoon in pictures, and this is the kind of damage we were warning everybody that could happen and likely would happen. You can see the spots on the ground where a driveway would typically need to be cleaned. Look at these pressure marks from where the hail has essentially cleaned just crud that builds up on concrete driveways, and here's the result of that hail. This was at one point the back window of this Chevrolet vehicle that I can now reach right into. And with that session starting today, there is so much to unpack related to prisons in Alabama, the problems that have been identified by people on both sides of the aisle. The solution is what lawmakers can't necessarily seem to agree on right now. Here to talk more about this is Beth Shelburne. She's a journalist for the ACLU, a longtime journalist. Now, you've covered prisons in this state for a decade, Beth. Let's talk about the issue at hand. The governor wants to build more prisons. She says that is the solution. You talk to a lot of people that are either incarcerated in this system or affiliated with it somehow. How do you identify objectively what the problem is that lawmakers need to focus on?
Welcome into a very busy 6 o'clock hour here this Thursday, December the 30th, 2021. I'm Jack Royer. Ani has the morning off. We have severe weather to cover, what's ahead this morning and what's happened overnight, plus these headlines this morning. Oh man, you really started to take stock of how your winter eating habits have gone when you put on a suit you haven't worn in 3 months. Oh no.
There's a lot of faith you're placing in your button there.
Ooh, there's a lot. It's actually stapled. You just can't see it. There's a deadbolt on the inside of this button. Today we get a very fun animal.
You get to do the dwarf goats?
The Nigerian dwarf goats and me hung out. We're actually the same height, so it worked out great. These three officials, Hub Harvey, Police Chief Pat Cheatwood from Pelham, and Mike Reed, the fire chief, talking about the massive undertaking that when you hear about what all they had to put in place, the surrounding counties and agencies that had to help Pelham rescue people, numerous incidents that could have been way worse than they were. From the classroom to the rest of the country today, the president expected to meet with the White House COVID response team and update the nation on the recent surge in cases. It comes after lawmakers and their staffs are being urged to work remotely. College football season has not even kicked off yet, but tickets for one playoff semifinal game have already sold out. Two people charged in the death of 3-year-old Camille Cupcake McKinney have been indicted on federal kidnapping charges tonight. 40-year-old Patrick Stallworth and 29-year-old Derek Arisha Brown are both charged with kidnapping and conspiracy to kidnap a minor victim. They're also charged with capital murder. You may remember Cupcake McKinney was abducted at a Birmingham housing complex last October. Qualifying has ended tonight for candidates in the race for House District 33. The special election will fill the seat that was held by Representative Ron Johnson, who died on July 14th, one of the longest-serving members of the legislature. An emotional Mark Wilson, the Jefferson County health officer, a 35-minute press conference with one simple message today. It's not about you, it's about us. The chairs worked out great.
Yes.
The new
What do you
backdrop.
think? Do you like
I
them?
it. They're good.
I lobbied for recliners, but they ruled those out. So maybe next time.
I lobbied for a
Yeah.
hot
No,
tub.
okay.
My hot tub idea got nixed too, so whatever. Hey, we got updates for you every half hour in CBS Mornings coming up.
Have a great morning.
I'll be doing what I'm known for, running a 15-minute mile. See you there in the morning, and we'll see you again for the news at 6. CBS Evening News is next from Washington. The Birmingham Waterworks Board revealed at a meeting in 2019 that they're nearly $1 billion in debt. To pay for it, they've raised rates on customers for 10 out of the last 11 years. But we've discovered that for the past 20 years, they've been using ratepayer money to buy homes on Inland Lake. That's about 40 minutes from Birmingham. They've either left those homes to rot or, in some cases, burned them to the ground. We started asking questions after frustrated ratepayers reached out to us when they were getting nowhere.
This might feel like a private lake, but Inland Lake is owned by the Birmingham Waterworks Board. It's one of the utility's main water sources. It's open to the public for fishing and recreational use, with numerous cabins that have been in use for decades.
How long have you owned that property?
Since the 1970s.
Dr. John Christian is selling the home his family has long enjoyed, but now he's worried about its fate.
Because they're using taxpayers' money to buy houses up there and burn them down.
When a house on this lake comes up for sale, the Birmingham Waterworks Board has a choice. Allow a private sale to go through and then make a new agreement with the buyer. Or they can buy the home instead for the same market price. It's a right given to them in agreements that the board made with homeowners in the late 90s. And they like to use it, although it often comes with a hefty price tag. Our records show they've spent well over $1 million buying houses on the lake since the year 2000. For example, it cost ratepayers $250,000 for the Waterworks to buy this house. Or this one, $300,000 spent. Now it's sitting empty. And this one, the board acquired it for $170,000 back in 2004. But nothing is left after the Waterworks had it burned down.
This is one of the properties that's up for sale right now. Alan Stringfellow wants to buy it, but he's worried that the Birmingham Waterworks will exercise their first right of refusal to buy it instead.
Mr. Stringfellow reached out to us.
Did you send them physical letters?
I've written every one of the commission or the board directors, every one of them, and the managers and their assistants, wrote every one of them a letter personally.
And you never heard a peep at all?
Nope, not one word.
Hey, it's Jack Royer.
We called asking for an interview, but the board spokesperson said no. In a statement, they said investing in property along Inland Lake gives the utility the ability to manage the possibility of any threats to the watershed. We asked for examples of how the homes have posed a threat to the lake, but they didn't provide any. In a committee meeting earlier this month, one member joked about the $325,000 price tag on the home Stringfellow wanted to buy.
I got one question. Does the boat come with that money?
That committee voted to recommend that the board go ahead with the purchase. We showed up at the Waterworks board meeting Wednesday to ask questions.
I'm here not only as a party to the contract.
Alan Stringfellow was there to make one final plea to let his purchase go through.
As a customer of the Waterworks board, I found it inexcusable to spend $325,000 of ratepayer money on buying a camp house to simply abandon it.
But it didn't change anything. The board voted minutes later to go ahead with the purchase of the home. They claim the acquisitions are important to protect the lake, but they've been inconsistent. We found at least 3 examples of homes in the past 5 years that the Water Board chose not to buy. They didn't respond when we asked why exceptions were made in those cases.
It's just the priorities, Is your priority to, waste money, or is your priority and focus lowering water bills, lowering debt?
The general manager said the long-term plan for the houses is to hire a contractor to tear them down and haul them away. Some unanswered questions about why still remain.
The Waterworks board president wouldn't talk to us on camera. Wednesday's purchase passed the board without a single no vote. We've been looking through past board meetings to find the Waterworks has now spent $1.9 million buying these homes over the past 20 years. Jack Royer, CBS 42 News, local coverage you can count on.
Numbered yardsticks, the only record of lives once lived that now line certain stretches of Druid City streets. And nothing new. The bodies of patients at Tuscaloosa's Bryce Hospital, long since gone.
That graveyard has been there since 1861.
Steve Davis has spent decades as historian for the Department of Mental Health, where he says years ago, many patients who died weren't remembered by name, sadly only a number, in the early years of Alabama's mental hospital when Tuscaloosa looked a lot different.
So these are people just like me and you, and that's what the first thing I said is, I just want every grave treated like it's your mama.
In 2019, AlDOT could begin adding lanes to a stretch of McFarland Boulevard.
This is the Woolsey-Fennell Bridge.
Which could mean the graves need to be moved to make way.
Our current design as it is may or may not even have to call for those graves to be moved.
Once, when they came to Bryce, they were here forever.
Some a century and a half old, but not forgotten.
And so that record in that grave is all the history we have with them, and so that's the only connection their family has with them.
Front of mind for those preserving history amid continuing progress. AlDOT tells me tonight that they still might not have to move these graves to add a lane to 82 like they want to do beginning in 2019, but they tell me tonight that if they do, the grave moving will be done with the utmost care and respect. Live in Tuscaloosa tonight, Jack Royer, CBS 42 News, local coverage you can count on. As the sun came up on a battered New Orleans, Ida's destruction became clear. So did the reality for people feeling trapped in the Big Easy with no power and no plan. These girls are in town on a bachelorette trip, trying to get home to Philadelphia.
We've now booked 5 different flights. Everything's booked and canceled. Our 9 a.m. flight tomorrow's canceled.
Near the French Quarter, Darnetta Austin came to New Orleans for her birthday, only to have Ida crash the party.
I had a very bad birthday. No lights, no water in the hotel, nothing. It just all chaos, just broke loose. So.
The powerful storm walloped the French Quarter, ripping roofs off buildings and flooding some streets. Widespread power outages now forcing the city to tell people who evacuated, don't come back yet. And among the destruction, pieces of New Orleans history. Right next to this mural of some New Orleans jazz icons is the Kornofsky shop, where it's completely destroyed from Hurricane Ida. Louis Armstrong once worked here. It later became New Orleans' first jazz music shop.
It's a really sad situation. The Little Jim Saloon that's over there too also is heavily damaged, and it's another historic jazz landmark. So wow. It's a bad day for jazz landmarks, let's put it that way.
The city relying on the levee system to keep water out.
facing its first true test since Hurricane Katrina, but they need power for the pumps to get rid of storm water inside, and fearing power restoration could take weeks.
You have a place to stay tonight?
We're not sure about that. Not too sure, nope.
A long road ahead to get the Big Easy back to normal. Reporting in New Orleans, I'm Jack Royer.